Who is your most hated TV character? Kevin Cucumber from SpongeBob. He's such a loser. That little garbage snitch Randall from Recess, hated him and his stupid grin. Edit thanks for my first ever Silver Stranger, I love you. Delonda from The Wire, her husband, a high-ranking member in organized crime gets a life sentence, she gets money from her husband's associates until they cut her off. Her response? Encourage her teenage son, Naaman, to deal drugs so she can keep living like how she's used to. The way she reacts to her son's shortcomings as a drug dealer is how you'd expect any other mother react to behavioral or academic issues. When he gets arrested, she's out of town on a shopping trip, she tells the police to keep him and that she won't pick him up. His teacher, who's a former cop, picks him up and Naaman spends the night at his house. The mother tells him, stay the fluff away from my son. When he drops him off in the morning, their last interaction is her calling him a female doggy, telling him he isn't a man like his father is, and slapping him in the face for messing up a package. He runs off and refuses to go back. His teacher convinces his father to give him custody, which he does. In The Wire, there were so many garbage stains. She may not have had Marlowe's body count, but it takes a special piece of garbage to push your 14-year-old son to drug dealing just so you can continue to live in comfort. Mayor Goodway from Paw Patrol. Edit, and Lulu from Word Party. What's with Jimmy Pesto in Bob's Burgers? He's a complete butt with the maturity of a 7-year-old. Also, what was with that episode where he and Bob were in a game show and Jimmy won a car because he cheated and then Bob changed his tire for him? That made me so mad. He got no consequences at all. Also, his pizza sucks. The man in Fullmetal Alchemist who fused his dog and daughter together. Deb from Shameless really starts to eat at you after a while. Ricky Spanish. Jed Mosley, with his stupid red boots. That would be Tom Yates from House of Cards. He wasn't evil or anything, but his personality, dialogue, voice, hell even his face, just sucked the life out of me. Terry, Mr. Schuster's wife, from Glee. Good actress but her character made my blood boil. Joffrey, I mean props to the actor for making him such a little garbage but I really couldn't stand him on GOT. Monica's mom from Friends. I know, it's a sitcom and it's played for laughs, but I couldn't stand her. I don't like that type of humor that she brought, the embarrassing, humiliating kind, constantly putting her own daughter down. It never got a laugh from me, ever. Nancy from Weeds after season 1, darn what a narcissistic personality. Polly from Riverdale, she can fluff off straight to hell. Chuck on Better Call Saul. Connor in Angel, that female doggy-ass kid was the most annoying fluff I've ever encountered in a TV show, even worse than Don in Buffy, his constant whining and moodiness and "wah I hate my dad," like no, just stop. Todd, Breaking Bad. I despised Lou Avery on Mad Men. Comrade Diet Law. Livia and Janice Soprano, Janice is a fluffin' snake. The slong cop that tried to ruin House's life. Yes, House was a slong to you in the clinic. Move on. I have never hated a character more than I hated him. Caillou, that bald-headed female doggy does nothing but teach children that throwing temper tantrums and whining 24/7 gets you whatever you want. Kid's a freaking monster and the show should be banned. Kai Wynn from Star Trek, Deep Space Nine. Such an insufferable female doggy. Randy on That 70s Show, they tried to replace Eric with him, but I just did not like him. Edward Vogler. What a piece of garbage. Sure, House is an butt too, but he saves lives in the process. Vogler just personifies so many issues with the American healthcare system. Arnold's cousin Janet in the Og Magic school bus. Leonard's mom in The Big Bang Theory is a bad person, she hates her son and shows him no respect. She constantly berates him and implies his entire life is a waste. She spends multiple episodes pretending to love him so that she can write another book, and it breaks his heart each time to learn he was being used. The penultimate episode of the series is him accepting that he will never have the relationship he wanted, and he chooses to forgive her and still keep her in his life. I think that's absolutely pathetic, and he should not have her in his life at all. I didn't even watch the series conclusion due to how weak Leonard is. Shay from Game of Thrones. Don't know what Tyrion saw in her besides the obvious looks. Right now, it would have to be Serena Joy from The Handmaid's Tale. Just as you think she's actually starting to show some humanity, she fluffs it up again. Gemma from Sons of Anarchy. Almost everything bad that happens in the later seasons is her fault, so many people die from her stupidity and jealousness. God, I hate that female doggy lol. I find Sheldon Cooper repugnant. If anyone in the real world treated his friends the way he does, even Hollywood's worst caricatures of nerds exampled by the rest of the cast, he'd be kicked out of that unrealistically large apartment in the first season. Lori from The Walking Dead, female doggy, didn't do anything and somehow flipped a car on an open road while pregnant. Jimmy Pesto from Bob's Burgers is a female doggy and always been one. Angelica from Rugrats, she annoyed the ever-living garbage out of me. Baron Corbin could be a monster, instead, he's just a gigantic female doggy. No disrespect to the actual guy behind the gimmick. Daisy Piscatella and Humphrey from Orange is the New Black. Dawson from Dawson's Creek. I don't think a character has ever bothered me more. Sarah on Land Before Time. Hated her when I was 4, still hate her now. The stupid fly in Breaking Bad. D.W. from Arthur. Maria de la Guerta from Dexter. Dr. Kim Briggs on Scrubs. How dare she lie and manipulate J.D. into thinking she miscarried, only to turn around and get upset when he said he didn't have feelings for her and turned his friends against him in that moment. Stargate SG-1 Senator Kinsey. The ultimate nice guy, Ted Mosby. It's been a long time, but 10-year-old me already hated Charlotte from H2O, just add water. What a female doggy. Jerry, he always gets away with bullying Tom, he must die once and for all. Piper Chapman. Jan Levinsoni could never get behind the character. Not even as a "you are supposed to not like her" character. Troy, the Super Megaforce Red Ranger. His acting is bad by Power Ranger standpoints, which is saying something. He played an adaptation of a fan favorite from the source material, Captain Marvelous, but instead we get nothing but terrible catchphrases, dropped plotlines, and bland unemotional stares. A lot of this can be blamed on the writing, but the characters was so poorly done. Peppa Pig, I'm sick to death of her and her stupid fluffing family and all her ball bag friends and that fluffing song too. She's an butt, cheeky little fluffer and always taking the piss out of her dad, who by all accounts seems to be a very nice guy. Nellie Olson. So hated that Alison Arngrim who played her gets personally hated to this day. Nancy Botwin. My boyfriend is rewatching Weeds and it reminds me how she ruined that show for me by simply being the main character. I hated her. Also Fiona Gallagher from Shameless, very similar character. I can't believe I scrolled all the way to the bottom and saw Eric Foreman, Ross Geller and Michael Scott all mentioned 3+ times, but not one person mentioned the garbagetiest TV character ever, and that's the insufferable hypocrite, Alan Harper. I could go on some long-winded explanation as to why he's the absolute worst character, but in short he's a person who will always try and justify their dependence on their brother by belittling them for their less than conventional life choices. He tries to pretend he has some moral superiority over Charlie, because Charlie drinks and has plenty of one-night stands. All the while Charlie goes out of his way to help his brother and nephew through all their hard times, including giving up on the love of his life so Alan could stay, and Alan had not one shred of gratitude. After Charlie died, Alan only got worse. Emily from Friends. The guy who always said my leg in the background of SpongeBob. He was up to some shady garbage. How many times can you hurt your leg? Think it was for the insurance money or maybe to sue. Dora, she makes me furious. Lana Lang from Smallville. I don't even like the name Lana anymore. Kai Wynn. Louise Fletcher didn't have a lot of screen time, but with what she had she made a real impression. Trish from Jessica Jones, mainly in Season 3. Every minor character, because I need to pause the show and tell my mom who they are and what they did. Metatron. On Dexter I absolutely hated Lila, her real name is Jamie Murray. Dinkelberg. I thought long and hard about who my most hated character is. I'm gonna go with Rachel Berry from Glee. I eventually came to the realization that she is just honestly irredeemable. She's self-centered and whiny, complains about not having friends but isn't a good friend, pretends that her narcissism is just ambition, like okay I get it, you're serious and want to perform professionally, but anytime literally any other character has a solo, she gets all pouty. Doesn't even matter if it's not a concert or anything, just any solo even on a small scale. She's shallow and judgmental, and lastly, any time Rachel has a good streak going, and I start wondering if I judged her too harshly, she does something to royally ruin it and reaffirm my hatred for her. I promise they didn't have to follow her at all after she graduated. That was the end of Glee for me, just continue following the kids in Shoes class, it worked fine for Degrassi. Priya from The Big Bang Theory. Piper from Orange is the New Black. She's the lead, and every other character is the reason I kept watching the show. That dude in S1 Pokémon that mistreated his Charmander. Nora on The Flash or Andrea on The Walking Dead. Anna Lucia from Lost. Janice fluffing soprano, when I thought Livia was evil, her daughter came to prove me wrong, a character that makes both Livia and Tony look like good people in comparison, fluff that jerk, edit, spelling.